wallpaper. I got a photograph against this wall, you know, and just, I think kind of using, you know, just focusing on me. We have our main wall right here. That's the wall with the cool wallpaper where Desiree was standing there. And the back wall, and then we had this wall right here with a big window. And these are kind of like pinkish walls. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to set up a light right here. Kind of go for that. I'm at a 60th of a second because of my sync speed. I'm going to check the shadows. It looks pretty good, but I want to give her a little bit more definition. So I'm going to raise my light up, because the higher the light will give me more dramatic shadows. And the closer the light will give me more dramatic shadows too. But I kind of like the starkness of this. And let's see what we got. 3, 2, 1. Good. You know, and you can kind of see how it's more, definitely more defined. I still see catch lights. Now here's what I'm looking for with the reason why this light is like this. I'm looking for nose shadows. So I wanted her nose shadow to kind of go under a little bit. Give her some eyelashes. But so it's not touching the lip. Like that. So the light source, that's how I determine my height, is based on where I want the nose shadow. Okay. It being far enough back, this light, and she was so close to the wall that it was going to light the wall also, which is a pretty cool kind of stark look. And this light was pretty high. I just wanted to make sure that I got some catch lights. And honestly, that doesn't matter, because the second light I'm going to set up is my on-axis fill light. It might get really dark in the shadows. That's what this light is for. Why do I call it on-axis? This is why. So it's going to point directly behind me. In the perfect situation, I would have had, and I said this wrong in the video, I said 44 inches. I'm in a 77-inch white parabolic umbrella is what I would normally have. Or just some big foam core, like those 8x4 foot foam core that you can buy at Home Depot. Put a couple of those up there and just create yourself a nice little white wall. But I didn't have that right now, so we had kind of a pinkish wall. Normally what I would have is a big 44-inch parabolic white umbrella or big white panels. But going back there, this is just going to add a little bit of color to it. 3, 2, 1, pop. So, but this light shoots to the wall and then it comes back extremely diffused, because it's just bouncing off nothing. And the diffusion is directly behind me. So the on-axis means it's on the axis of the lens, which also means there is no real direction to the light other than just coming in. And that's why I call it ambient light. It's not ambient light. I'm creating what looks like ambient light. And what I mean is I'm going to raise my shadow levels up without having to compromise the direction the shadow's coming from. I don't want to personally light from the opposite side to fill the shadows, because essentially I'm creating two light sources that might have an opposing shadow. I just want to raise my ambient light level up to allow what shadow I am creating to remain dramatic as I want. And this will also almost always give me a catch light in life and eye, because there's light coming from behind the camera directly behind me. And just like that, just lean back and just kind of like look, yeah, and just kind of look off, just like that. Good. Look this way. Look straight at me. Yeah, there you go. Chin down a little bit. Good. Tilt like this. Nope, just mirror me. Ready? Mirror me. Tilt your head. Nope, like this. Watch. You're turning. Tilt. There. Look straight at me. Look straight at me. Keep going. Right there. Just straighten up. Yeah. Really bend that leg out a little more. Like really exaggerate it. Yeah. I think we've got the look I'm looking for. So,
how much of the window is pushing exposure on her?
what's that? Nothing.
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 Okay.
At all. In fact, here, I'll show you. No flash. You ready? Stand right there. This is what it looks like without flash. I mean, I guess there's a little bit, but
Awesome.
yeah, it's nothing. Gone. Burn another one. So as far as my settings went, I shot this light at exposure. And I'll just usually say that or just put 0. This light was -2 because I didn't want it to be brighter than this because that would have overpowered that. I wanted it to be under that. So when you meter this would have read, this is my settings, f8. This should say f8. I like to shoot at f8. So, I'll explain all this in a sec. Hey, what do you know?
Is that f8? Yeah.
That's what that light would have said. This would have said, now for all you natural light photographers out here, this might be interesting. -2 or less intense light is going to read f4 because it's not as bright. Cool. All right. Now, under normal circumstances, if you're just shooting an ambient light, making your lens f4 would increase the light coming into your camera. But that's because it's not as intense out, or not as intense ambient light, and that's why you raise or open up. But this, we're controlling the ambient light or the light. I've got a power switch on my strobe. So when I meter it, what we're metering is the intensity of the light. So f4 isn't as intense as f8, as like f11 would be one stop over. So that would, if this was, say this was f11, I'd put +1 on there, and that would be kind of my ratio. Think about it this way: your eyeball pupil is small if it's bright out. That would be like f16, and as you get into darker situations, or like a room or a cloudy day, maybe it opens up to f8. And then if you go inside and it's dark, it opens up to like f4. And then if it's like the middle of the night, your pupil's like f2.8. So you see the intensity of the light. The brighter it is, the smaller our pupil is, or the smaller our aperture is. So I kind of think about this as like our pupil. Remember, we're controlling the ambient light. Now once you get everything set up and it's still too dark, then sure, you can open up and make everything raise up just like it was ambient light. But I always say, why would we change our camera if I want to shoot at something when I control the power? It's kind of like being able to have a dimmer switch on the sun, which would be really cool, wouldn't it? So that's how that is set up. I'll tell you what, the first shot, I was doing more straight.
Right.
Where we just had the one light as the main focus.
Right.
It was back far enough that it was light, and she was close enough to the wall that it was lighting up everything. In case there were some deeper shadow, and just in case it's like I had the light a little too high and missed a catch light, that's what I had this other light, kind of what we call on-axis fill. Basically what it does is it's a white light behind me that's extremely diffuse, and because it's behind the photographer, it has no direction to the light. So all it's going to do is raise your ambient light level up. And what that does is it lets you have the single shadow, which we live in a world with one sun, so the one shadow thing kind of works. When you start having multiple shadows, it looks a little weird in my opinion. But that lets me bring my shadow level up without compensate. Like, I don't want to go fill from a side. I want to fill from behind me so I don't compromise my shadows, because my shadows are important. That's what's making the drama. The minute you start filling in your shadows from other ways and eliminating shadow, you start to make flat images.